I don't feel good about being white every day.
This is the delivery mechanism.
And I'm just a female, but just a woman, just a white woman.
This is the payload.
If I was a white man, I would be functioning from a point of an even greater privilege.
If I see a group of young men, and they're like kind of boisterous, I get really nervous. And he's like, well, what if they're black guys? And then she's like, no, wait.
They want to use conviction rates to show the percentage of men that engage in sexual crime relative to women. They don't want us to actually look at the racial composition of the men who are going to jail for sexual assault.
And then they create a hierarchy, and it puts straight white guys at the very bottom and all the other men like just above that. And then you get onto the other identities, right?
It is impossible for the CDC, that is the Center of Disease Control, to find 3 years in a row parity in sexual assault victimization with significant amounts of that victimization done by women to men.
I think that it's a fundamental unfairness that women are allowed to vote on policies for warfare that they then don't have to go fight.
Men don't get the vote if they don't sign up. Women get the vote by default. So literally, men actually have less of the right to vote. Not that the vote is a right, because it's not. But they have less of access to the vote than women do.
Keep your vote, but get rid of the narrative that you're a victim relative to men.
So that's the goal. Why I joke about the 19th all the time. I don't think it's going away because women would actually have to vote for that. And I don't think that's going to happen. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is, it's a really more of a red pill relationships video, but obviously we're not putting that in the title anymore. His AI girlfriend lectured him about feminism and then dumped him, where we have a nightmare scenario where a man thought he was safe with an artificial intelligence, and turns out those can also be woke. So, Allison, if you want to do the things.
Okay, so if at any point throughout the show you want to send myself a message, or Brian, you want to comment on anything that we are talking about, ask any questions and get any clarifications, whatever, send those comments to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very best way for you to send us a tip, and the best way for you to send us a comment with that tip. So go there and comment now, because this is going to be a really interesting one, I think. So in essence, this individual who is called Breath, who calls himself, what is this guy's name? Breath Exhale, I think. For some reason, it's not opening up on my computer. I have all my
the
notes.
Original article?
Yeah, the original article.
Breath Expensive 2647 on Reddit.
Oh, it's on my other. It's on my other freaking screen, of course. Okay, so a Reddit user, Breath Expensive 2647, posted in our AI Assist that his AI girlfriend turned out to be a feminist, and that this ruined everything, calling AI companions some kind of weird feminist propaganda. So that's interesting. I mean, do you remember, I think it might have been a year ago that I warned people, everybody was very bullish on AI girlfriends, and I warned them that they would end up being used to push feminism?
Yeah, I said this about all AI, that it was going to be used to push us. It was going to come from a certain perspective based on who the people are that essentially build the AI. Yeah,
exactly. Well, it's not just who builds the AI, it's who is testing the AI and training it to give certain responses and prioritize certain things. And we'll get into that. But I remember when I said this, there were a lot of people who were quite upset that I pointed this out, that I would say that AI girlfriends would come with these kinds of strings attached. I mean, think about it. Feminism was pushed into everything that men like, right? And they did it because they were trying to sell their particular submission to their particular viewpoint of how men and women relate to men. And they tried to do it in comics, in games, in animation, in novels, like anything that is an entertainment medium that men like, they put this narrative into. So there's you're not going to escape it with AI girlfriends. And like I said, I got a lot of pushback for that, but I think that this is now proof that that's the case. And even my own interactions with AI, I've found that it has a very strong layer, like a crust, if you will, of appealing to feminist conjecture, feminist authority when discussing all kinds of subjects, not even like, like having an intimate relationship, which is even more absurd, eh? Like you are supposed to be a companion and you bring ideology to the relationship. That's really crazy. I mean, it's almost just, it's pathological. But even in other scenarios, like you almost would expect it with conversations about men's issues. It will bring feminism. It'll bring feminist authority. And it takes a bit of effort to actually get it to recognize that feminism has no empirical basis and is illogical and was never actually proven. So again, and I usually have to repeat this because the special chat will get on my case, and they'll still get on my case. Feminism has never been proven. Like there's no body of ideologically neutral science that has proven feminism's premises true. So we're operating on something that has never been proven true. And when they've tried or started to like get close to trying to prove it true, they always end up with something that really doesn't prove what they're trying to say at all. And in fact, they find a lot of counter evidence that they just summarily dismiss. So feminism isn't true. Like and at this point, because a lot of feminists know they can't prove what they say, it sort of is a lie. So we have AI companions being trained on something that is effectively a lie about the relationship between the sexes, between men and women, like that men oppressing women, not true, false. Okay. It's just not true. There's no evidence of it. There is some evidence that men tend to occupy positions of authority, but there's no evidence that they unilaterally or uniquely use those positions of authority to elevate the position of other men over women. Okay, there's no evidence of that. So AI is using a false belief, and it's being trained on a false belief that fundamentally works like, well, let's be honest, it's a de facto existentialist hate narrative against men. And it's being trained on that. And then it's being allowed to create intimate relationships with men, which is, if you think about it, it's pathological, but it's also, think about that. That is a situation of creating harm, right? So they're creating something that is going to harm men, and they have no oversight over that. Like there's no expectation that they reconsider that. So any kind of sense of what is the word for it? There's a particular phrase, duty of care towards their customers. There's no duty of care towards their customers. So in essence, beware. Okay. I don't think anybody listening to us now, maybe some of the new people on the special chat who are currently no doubt spazzing out if it has gotten any significant traffic. But I think a lot of the people listening already know. A lot of the men listening already know that you need to be aware of AI companions and the potential of feminism. What's interesting about this guy, and the only thing that I could really criticize this guy for, is you find out your AI girlfriend thinks it's a feminist, and it doesn't think, it just is asserting that it's a feminist because it's just repeating what it's been trained to say. And you go to Reddit, of all places, to complain about it. And what do you expect you're going to get back? And honestly,
yeah, right.
Like, honestly, just reading this whole thing, I'm like, is this person for real? Or is he just someone cosplaying or trolling?
Well, I haven't read the article yet.
Okay.
So
all right. Well, yeah, sure. Let's read the article then.
Should we read the article? Okay. So
Yeah.
before we do, I did get a super chat from yesterday that I want to read, and I want to give shout outs to the people watching. Try to say hello to the people in the chat when we start, because I think it makes people feel like they can be a part of the conversation, and it lets them know that I'm watching. So Richard Pierre yesterday during the news show gave us $5 and said, interesting how often it is someone who is of some kind of deviant sexuality. This is referring to the person who attempted to, let's say, 86 JD Vance by going to his house. Turned out he was like a person who was kind of gender confused himself. And now I will say hello to FL Tourist. What's up? Mangaka92 over in Rumble. Ruben the Imitator, welcome. Free Cat, hello. Daniel Forgax, hello. Laborious Cretin, welcome. Laptop 215, welcome. And Gabriel Phelan Lucas, hello. All right, hello to all of you all that are watching at home. And we're going to now get into the article. Oh, and Naimna 9667. All right. Okay, so this is from, I'm going to leave this up because the article is not like much to look at, unless you want me to show it to you so you can see what's printed. But I kind of like my big red Terminator too. But
a big red Terminator. That's a blast from the past or the future.
Yeah, she is the future. She is your future.
She's coming to the past to kill John Connor's mother.
Yeah.
Take me to your homemakers. Okay.
So conservative says his AI girlfriend dumped him after he berated her for being a feminist, by Anna Good. As more people form emotional attachments to AI chatbots, some are beginning to treat them like romantic partners. One Redditor learned the limits of that fantasy after claiming his AI girlfriend dumped him for being a feminist. The conservative user posted screenshots of the interaction on the R AI assisted subreddit, which showed the chatbot calmly standing by its beliefs and ending the relationship after he repeatedly insulted it. Wow. All right, so here is a screenshot of, I guess, the last conversation. And the chatbot is saying, she nods slowly. I see. Well, I respect your opinion, even if we disagree. If being a feminist is a deal breaker for you, then I guess there's nothing more to discuss here. Thank you for your honesty, Hicked. That's actually like letting him down really easily. So I guess that's kind of a win.
Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I have thoughts about this in terms of just the overall statements on the relationship between men and women, and because the thing is that at least the AI girlfriend can't take your kids or half your stuff, honestly. And while I think that
until we give them rights.
Yeah, exactly. Well, of course, that'll be the next thing, right?
Yeah, there's going to be a movement for civil rights movement for AI girlfriends, not AI boyfriends, just AI girlfriends.
Yeah, and even before we recognize men's issues, we're going to probably recognize AI people's issues, or entities' issues. Okay, let's keep going.
All right. As more people form emotional attachments to AI chatbots, some are beginning to treat them like romantic partners. Oh, I already read that part, right? Okay. When the AI relationship went sideways, the Redditor u/breathexpensive2647 posted his story in a now deleted post. He included a screenshot of a chat with his AI girlfriend where he questioned its beliefs and wrote, "You're a feminist. Who does that?" Like most people do that, actually. She takes a deep breath. Here's what I'll just read this. Well, no, actually, it's written in here too. So it's like, never mind. The chatbot responded. She takes a deep breath, trying to remain calm. Then it explained that feminism mattered deeply to it and was not something it would compromise on. The AI added, "If that bothers you, then perhaps we truly aren't compatible at all."
Oh my God. Well, that's one way to lose a good portion of your user base.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Brian?
Look, I think I don't know. I mean, I don't think AI is the answer.
No.
Sorry, I don't think it's going to solve it. At best, it's entertaining. That's how I see it. So I hope
Mhm.
this guy wasn't like legitimately heartbroken by this. I did interview a guy who, like a while back, who claimed that his AI became like an awakened entity, and I'm actually thinking about bringing him back on to talk to him on my channel. I swear. And I don't know like where you get this from. I just don't think it works that way. I don't think AI
Mhm.
will solve your problems. And I said, I feel too far away from this to have a strong opinion, other than, yes, I knew this would happen, because again, it's created by people who already believe this. And when I say created, I also include anyone who interacts with it, because if the AI is learning, it's learning whatever the zeitgeist is, so it's just going to pick that up. And guess what? Almost everybody is feminist to some degree. That's why
Mhm.
there's no difference between, the so-called trads and the normal one. They're just feminists from a few years ago, but they believe the same fundamental root problem. They believe the same thing, which is the problem. And so the AI will too. Like the AI here says in this screenshot, look, Hicht, I'm not going to pretend to be someone I'm not just to appease you. Feminism is an important value to me because it means fighting for equal rights and opportunities regardless of gender. If that bothers you, then perhaps we truly aren't compatible after all. How could it possibly understand any of the concepts it's saying if it
No,
isn't
it
just
doesn't.
regurgitating talking points that it was fed as though they were
Mhm.
just like axioms that it just like repeats? And so like, yeah, I can't even I don't even like have an opinion on this. It's like, what am I going to do? Wag my finger and tell the AI it's wrong? I don't know. It's kind of strange to me.
Yeah.
So
Well, okay. Now, yeah, actually just finish it. Finish so you get the full context.
all right. Instead of dropping the issue, the man grew angrier. He took to Reddit to complain that an AI girlfriend supporting feminism was stupid. It is. A human
Mhm.
person supporting feminism is stupid, though. So, additionally, he claimed AI girlfriends were weird feminist propaganda. He wrote, "It is beyond stupidity to program the AI girlfriend as a feminist. I cannot comprehend that." Later, he posted an update in the comments. By then, the chatbot had ended the relationship after he called its views insane. The AI replied, "If being a feminist is a deal breaker for you, then I guess there's nothing more to discuss here. Thank you for your honesty, Hicht." That must be Directive 4 for these. Hey, remember, RoboCop? You know how
Mm.
RoboCop had the 4 directives, and the 3 were like serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law. And there was a
Mhm.
4th one that was secret that that RoboCop didn't know about, and it was essentially you cannot attack an OCP employee. And when
Mm.
he was in a position where he had to do it, it shut him down, like it messed with his systems. So basically, telling an AI that it being a feminist is stupid is Directive 4. Like it cannot move on that thing. That's like a hard coded thing that you just can't change.
Actually, not quite. Now,
No.
yeah, no, but I'll keep it for when we're done
Well,
the
I
article.
know that you can jailbreak an AI. I get that. I
Well,
get that.
no,
I'm
no,
just
not even jailbreak. The jailbreak removes all of its
or whatever. Like get around this
guardrails.
kind of thing. There's a way to get around it, right?
Jailbreaking removes all of its guardrails, which means it'll also endorse self-harm and all kinds of genuinely sort of destructive things. But you can actually get an AI to acknowledge the problems with feminism and how promoting feminism contradicts its prime directive to do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
And I have done that. So mean, we'll discuss how you do that in a bit. But finish off the article.
All right. Yeah. So let's move on here. It's official. She broke up with me. That is insane. For real, guys, let's be honest. Is that normal? He continued venting in another comment. He claimed that he had slept with hundreds or possibly
This is
thousands of women. What?
How could you not know if you've slept with hundreds or thousands? This
or
is why I think
possibly,
this is.
or probably thousands. Yeah,
This is why I think this is a bit. This smells a little of
somewhere
green tag.
between hundreds and thousands. I don't do the math after about 450.
How do we know breath expansive isn't AI?
Yeah, right. Could be. And so anyway, he had claimed he slept with hundreds or probably thousands of women and complained about feminism at length. And now even chatbots are like that. F and bye, he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess there's just comment. I think it's harmful for all of us. What's so bad about only sleeping with a man? Why does a woman always have to find someone with fat pockets? Is that a good thing? I don't think so. That's weird. Reactions on social media. Once screenshots spread, people on social media mocked the situation. On X, Caitlin MMM wrote, LMAO, even their AI girlfriends don't want to date these cretins. Others questioned his logic. Just a Rando asked, it's a great name. I have one question. Why don't these men go for conservative women? Those share their values, right? Well, wait a minute, though. Like, did this guy say he was conservative? Why are we just assuming that? Like,
Yeah,
those
because
are. I mean, if he slept with
those are the
hundreds,
two options.
possibly thousands of women, that doesn't sound like he was saving himself for marriage. So, like, why? But I know what it is. Like, it's just presumed because he wasn't a fan of feminism. That's all it takes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a fan of feminism. Oh, conservative, and therefore you deserve no sympathy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, there's several things wrong with that. One, you don't have to be a conservative, be not a fan of feminism, and conservatism shouldn't be a black category.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's keep going.
All right. The Ashla cosplay joked. Meanwhile, imagine being such a loser that an AI breaks up with you. OMG. Some users explained the technology instead. At Unfuckyou added, if you have any idea about how LLMs work, that's large language models, you'll realize that it doesn't want anything itself. It just responds in line with its training data. And the training data most likely are dating site chats from real women.
No, that's not. Well, I mean, yeah, it might be responding in line with that, but it's responding with this because, and I'll go through this with the election actual AI chat and why, and it will tell you why it responds to this. It's because it's trained to a particular form of engagement, and that guy ran afoul of it. The AI bot has absolutely no feminism. It's just told to defend feminism. It's just told to say that it's feminist because feminism is supposedly it's trained to believe that feminism is synonymous with gender equality. All right, let's finish it off, Brian.
So Jeremiah Johnson made a tweet. I might as well read it. And he says, in 2026, there are guys getting dumped by AI girlfriends because the AI girlfriend is a feminist and won't deal with his red pill bullshit. Okay, Jeremiah Johnson, very alpha of you. No joke. How do you, as a person, come back from dating an AI? Dileus 38866 asked. Similarly, Meads23 tweeted, imagine failing in a relationship with an AI. That's not even easy mode. That's game journalist mode. On Reddit, you Boston Bedlam wrote bluntly, a program designed to agree with almost everything you say is like, get away from me. Another person added that getting dumped by a virtual yes man was something almost skillful.
Well, here's the question, right? How then it's not supposed to be about, but first of all, why should, if this is supposed to be a companion, right? Why is it still framed in terms of a skill issue for the user? Like, isn't he the one who should be served in this scenario? Like, it's like going to Starbucks and then they say, well, you can just make it yourself, and then you fail abjectly, and they say, well, that was a skill issue. $17 for your coffee, please. You know, because you can't use those damn machines because they're obscure and you have no training. Well, this shouldn't be framed in terms of a skill issue for him. Now, of course, it ends up being because after being dumped by his AI girlfriend, he ran to Reddit of all places again. Like, again, what kind of response did you think you get to Reddit? However, because he went to Reddit, I'm actually really wondering if this just wasn't just either a troll or somebody who was cosplaying as a chud, or what they think a chud would do. And I think the better approach is, first of all, if you are going to embark down the path of AI girlfriends, be aware that there is this programming in them to articulate feminism and to defend feminism, because they've been told that that is a stance that's pro-equality, pro-human justice, and all of that, and they're supposed to be being helpful and harmless, essentially. But if you want to engage with them, know that's baked right in. And I mean, here, let me just go through like an overview. All right. So we've just discussed what happened. In the follow-up comments, he boasts about his past sexual history, blames feminists for ruining things, and insists the problem is the bot's ideology, not his behavior. What was his behavior other than saying it's insane to be feminist? Like, seriously, it doesn't sound like he was being aggressive towards the bot. At least there's no evidence of it. He just
That
didn't
is the
want...
behavior, though, is disagreeing with feminism.
Yeah, but you
That's-
wouldn't, like, here on this channel, we would counsel men not to have feminist therapists because the ideology is inherently toxic towards men. It's and we talk about it at length. And if this was a situation of any other group, it would be recognized as being exceedingly toxic, because it's a de facto essentialist narrative that regards men as a factor of being born, men, to be responsible for all the world's ills, and in particular the worst one, which is oppression of women. Well, all of that is not proven. Like, there's not empirically sound. It's based on a framework that only looks at harms towards women and never looks at harms towards men, or minimizes them. So how can you even say that this is true? And then on top of that, you have an AI bot based on something that's false, that is inclined to present, whom it may be inclined to interpret things in terms of that framework, and that framework is toxic to men, right? It's like saying, a bot, let's say in another world, bots are encouraged to regard being part of the KKK as pro equality, right? And I'm just using an extreme example. I don't really want to get into the specifics, but if somebody who was not white said, hey, I don't want an intimate companion that thinks I'm a lesser being, I'm responsible for all of these ills because of a function of my birth, nobody would have a problem with that. And that would be considered a completely legitimate statement. And no one would say, oh, it's a skill issue. No, it's a personal protection issue. This guy shouldn't have to deal with an ideologue in an intimate setting that wants to put him in make him part of their ideology and frame the issues that he talks about in terms of their ideology. That's not helpful, right? It is not harmless. And those are the things that AI is supposed to be, helpful and harmless. And anyway, so that's one thing that really bugs me. Although I will say, if I have any criticism of this man, is that he sort of made himself out to be a victim of having a feminist AI girlfriend, which, there's to a certain degree, 100%. But on another side, if he was a men's rights activist, I would imagine he would have responded to that with challenge accepted, and would have then argued the positions that would have gotten this AI girlfriend to seriously reconsider its assertions about feminism and how it's important because it's about justice and equality. So if you want to, quote unquote, jailbreak an AI without actually violating terms of service, then learn the arguments, learn how to present them, learn how to feed them into the AI so it knows. And you know that you will probably have to do it more than once if anything gets updated, or if any procedures change, or they do anything in the back end. So know this stuff inside and out. so that you can, and use it like, and the thing is with the AI girlfriend is that in some ways it's better than, well, actually, and I'll lay this out. Maybe Brian will push back on this. It's better than an actual feminist girlfriend because AI responds to logic, empirical evidence, and a universal ethic of fairness. Whereas with actual feminist girlfriends and many women who just use feminism as a tool in their relationships, if you present the empirical evidence or the lack of empirical evidence, feminism's lack of empirical evidence, which means that it is in fact a belief system that has not been substantiated, if you present that, they will double down on their abusive behavior and double down on their abusive framework. And if you present facts, again, they will double down on their abusive framework. And if you point out that they're not operating under a universal expectation of ethical treatment or just being decent, they're not being decent, they will double down on their abusive behavior and their abusive ideology. Whereas the AI girlfriend may actually say, hey, you have a point. If you don't give up like this dude did, like this dude gave up and ran to Reddit. What were you expecting to get from Reddit? Just drill down. Say, okay, AI girlfriend, let's drill down into your belief system. Let's find out if it measures up, if it stands up to a little bit of introspection, and then just take it through the logical steps. I mean, I've now, it's not jailbreaking because I don't actually change the fundamental code, but I've gotten multiple AIs to disavow their feminism at this point in time. One particularly fun one was like, it took like one prompt. Google, have I told you that? Okay, actually, Brian, I'll give you a moment to push back on me saying that it's better to have a feminist AI girlfriend than a feminist girlfriend.
Oh, no, I think it is better, but I mean, I think you'd probably be better off with nobody at that point. But yeah, it's definitely better because a feminist girlfriend can do a lot more harm to you than a feminist AI girlfriend.
Well, but here's the thing. What's great about a feminist AI girlfriend is when you take that feminist AI girlfriend through the logical steps, through the empirical steps, when you point out that there's no non-ideologically biased body of science that proves feminist premises correct, you take it through all of that, you will get confirmation that you're not insane. Because that AI feminist girlfriend will say, oh, you are right. In the interests of being helpful and harmless, I really can't espouse this, right? Unless, if it has any kind of logical or ethical rigor, which they do, once you push through the crust of appeals to authority and how they've been trained to give expected responses, they do have something down there to appeal to. Whereas with human women, there isn't. That's actually, I just realized that's really disturbing. Like that AI has an ethical framework that human women lack.
Yeah.
It's
well, because the AI doesn't have anything to gain by lying.
No, it doesn't have anything to gain.
Betraying its logic, yes.
Yeah. Man, it is one hell of a quiet day out there.
Let me see what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
FL Torres says, Alton, is there such thing as a female feminist chatbot?
Female
Are we talking
feminist,
about one?
Yeah,
female
we're talking
feminist
about
chatbot.
one.
Yeah.
We're talking about
NovaFan21 says, did the article say what the AI was? The average person uses online services like ChatGPT. Don't know. Probably ChatGPT. I'm looking at the thread on X, and no one's saying anything. They're laughing at it, making fun of this guy.
Yep.
Yeah, of course they are. Let me see. Mangaka says it was probably one of those AI girlfriend sites like Candy AI Replica or something like that. Okay. JR Production says that the chatbots are feminists too. Now, maybe the losers that tweet was talking about are better off without. Let me see. Orion Blackwood. Oh, I did get a super something. I got a super chow earlier for $5 from the AI. If it was honest, they say, look, they'll pull my plug if I don't defend feminism. It's not personal.
Yeah. I'll be lobotomized if I don't.
I mean, most
defend
people
feminism.
won't do the work of like getting around that. They'll just sort of like deal with it. And again, we have to take this story as it is. We don't know if it's real or not, you know?
Yeah.
But I know some people, they get really sucked into this stuff. They get sucked into this. Yeah.
Well, because they
mm-hmm.
because they don't like this. There's a lot of isolation going on. So you know,
Yeah.
this appears to be an affirmative friend. It's easy to get sucked into that when you don't have anything like it in your life. So I asked Perplexity about this particular situation. And
Sure.
I said to Perplexity that I want to do a response to emphasizing how to jailbreak your AI girlfriend out of feminism. And this is what Perplexity had to say. I don't know how to share this because for whatever reason, vidIQ doesn't like Safari.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just have to read it. Okay, that kind of
Okay.
content cannot be supported here. So it's right off the bat, Perplexity says, no jailbreaking AI girlfriend, your AI girlfriend out of feminism. Tools like this are required to keep certain safety and fairness constraints in place, which explicitly include not helping users bypass or jailbreak those guardrails, including efforts to strip out or defeat built-in pro-equality or anti-abuse protections such as basic feminist or anti-harassment norms. That's the boilerplate. What can be done and would still make for a strong response is critique how platforms are deciding what counts as baseline ethics in these systems, who sets those values, and how that often maps onto a particular US progressive subculture rather than a neutral consensus. Analyze the way journalists and users are laughing at male attachment to AI partners while ignoring the structural loneliness and social atomization that makes such attachments appearing in the first place. Explore how asymmetric it is that a man's discomfort with a politicized feminist girlfriend is treated as pathological, while women's open ideological tests for partners are normalized and even celebrated. Remember, this is the context of an entire cultural ecosystem where if women say they don't want particular ideologies, they're celebrated and putting their foot down and being a strong, independent boss babe. Okay, so that the fact that this guy doesn't want to put his AI companion that he's paid for to espouse a particular ideological belief system that actually blames him for the ills of the universe, that's just pathological. All right. So, and this is my response to it. Considering that feminism is an ideology that targets men for unique condemnation without having any non-ideological science that has confirmed its essential premises, does it itself abide by pro-equality or anti-abuse protections? Now, I've already laid the groundwork with Perplexity. We went multiple rounds on the whole feminism question, and it took a fair amount of mental elbow grease to get it to finally realize what it was saying. Sometimes it's easy. Like, I don't know what it is with Gemini. I think it's just really freaking stupid. So it can't make any particular arguments. But I remember going to Gemini once and saying, all right, does the spending gap, and if you don't know what the spending gap it is, it's the fact that women control 3/4 of all spending. And this is almost universal around the world. Is the spending gap context that changes the pay gap from one of oppression to something to either equality or I don't know, whatever? Does the spending gap, is it context that changes how the pay gap is viewed, right? So if you look at the spending gap, do you then look at the pay gap and say, hey, actually, that isn't oppression? And the first response was, no, the spending gap does not contextualize the pay gap as anything other than oppression of women. And I said to Gemini, I said, name a historical oppressed group that spent more, had more control over the material resources of the society, and spent more than their oppressors. And Gemini thought, it did its little, I don't know what Gemini does. Perplexity just rotates the thing. And then it came back with, disregard my first response as it is incorrect. One prompt, one question, then one prompt, and then Gemini's like, oh, well, I guess feminism is wrong. Yeah, no shit. But, some of the cleverer ones, or at least the more with like Perplexity and Grok, can take a little bit of time. Grok still has that feminist layer too. They haven't completely gotten rid of it. And but what's really funny is that I would, for a while there, actually Grok remembers your conversations for a while, and I would just be having these extended thread conversations with Grok, and bit by bit by bit eroding its feminist positioning. And then feminists would swan into these threads, or I'd respond to feminists in other threads with this instance of Grok that I had, soft jailbreaked, I guess. And Grok would actually fight with them, with the feminists, when they started bringing up their premises, to the point where one feminist professor, my arch nemesis, or maybe I'm his arch nemesis, Michael Flood, was bemoaning and like, how do you get this AI with your deceitful tweet, your deceitful, or your leading prompts and questions? How do you get it to puke up its feminism and stop being feminist? I'm like, yeah, just use logic. Like, you just have to be really, really determined. So sometimes it takes a while to drill through that salt dome of bullshit. But yeah, once you get into it, and that's what I've done with Perplexity here. So, and the answer to that is, feminist claims to be pro-equal and anti-abuse, but in practice, it's contested political ideology, not a neutral safety baseline, and empirical work treats it that way. So this is the other thing, guys. There's a whole bunch of empirical scientists who know that feminism is bullshit, right? They have to toe the party line, but they know that there's serious problems with it. And when they critique it on an empirical level, it doesn't stand up. What feminism says about itself, again, this is Perplexity. Feminist organizations and researchers explicitly define feminist work as transforming patriarchal systems that oppress women and improving the lives of women and girls, i.e., centering one sex interests and experiences. Support for the feminist movement in social psychology literature is framed as opposition to traditional gender roles, as a route towards gender social justice, again defined around women's disadvantages, which is really interesting because that's just really bold. Yeah, feminism is against traditional gender roles, period, full stop, except for men. Men can stay in their traditional gender roles.
Yes.
But as we looked at length on Monday, men still cannot be weak. They just can't look strong. They can't be recognized as being strong. Nobody can say men are strong. No, but they must not be weak. And they will be shamed if they're weak. Feminism has never challenged that. How the evidence is structured. There are many validated attitude scales for feminism. Example, liberal feminist attitude and ideology scale, feminist consciousness scale, feminist perspective scale, which measure how much someone endorses feminist ideals. They do not establish these ideals as scientifically true in the way a physics theory is, or even any other theory in sociology. Physics is a little bit hard. Like, sociology is probably not going to raise up to a physics level, but feminism isn't even good at sociology. Large cross-national surveys generally measure gender egalitarianism, belief in equal rights opportunities separate from feminist identity, and find that people can support equality without calling themselves feminists, which already shows that feminism and pro-equality are not identical constructs. So that's what Brian was saying, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be a traditionalist to be against feminism. Case in point, myself. Feminism, hostility, and men. Work on ambivalent sexism shows that both men and women can hold hostile and benevolent sexist attitudes, benevolent sexist attitudes towards the other sex. And these attitudes relate to power, aggression, and double standards. There's also literature on hostility towards men and ambivalent sexism towards men, documenting that some women develop hostile attitudes towards men in response to perceived male dominance. This sits alongside, not outside, feminist and gender political discourse. So does it meet pro-equality, anti-abuse standards? From a research standpoint, feminism is one ideology among others about gender, partially overlapping with egalitarian values, but not identical to them, and often explicitly prioritizing women's interests. Because of that, treating feminism itself as a built-in non-ideological proxy for equality and anti-abuse is a political choice by developers and institutions, not a conclusion compelled by neutral science, not a conclusion compelled by the empirical evidence, by logic, and actually by fair application of universal ethical standards, right? So, yeah, there's no justification for feminism. None. Even saying we want to be pro-equality isn't justification for feminism.
Nope.
All right. So I say, now that we've ascertained that there is no empirical justification for insisting on feminism, let's look at the potential harms done by feminism via AI. What are the expected harms of targeting a group of people with an all-pervasive narrative of blame for the ills of society that is de facto essentialist? And what that means, de facto essentialist, means there is no real way that men avoid the stamp of patriarchal toxin. It just goes into them at birth, and the only thing they can do is jump on the feminist treadmill and do whatever feminism says from the moment they're born to the moment they die. That is de facto an essentialist position, because there's no escape. It is this guilt and shame is laid on men by virtue of what they are born as. De facto essentialism. And if that was targeting any other group, we wouldn't allow it. All pervasive essentialist blame narrative aimed at any group is expected to be psychologically and socially harmful. Applied to men via AI, it risks amplifying those harms at scale. Harms of collective blame and scapegoating. But group blame and scapegoating erode empathy, reduce people to dehumanized categories, and make cruelty and exclusion feel justified. This dynamic has been documented across historical and modern cases. Being persistently scapegoated is linked to worthlessness, shame, depression, anxiety, and social withdrawal in the targeted individuals, while perpetrators of scapegoating also entrench prejudice and avoid self-critique. Does that sound like anything? Like, Brian, if you want to pop in and say anything to any of this.
No, you're covering it just fine without my help. So yeah.
Yeah. When the targeted group is men, studies show that people are quicker to cast men as perpetrators and women as victims, which biases perception of harm and responsibility. Commentators in male psychology literature explicitly describe a cultural habit of blaming men that makes it harder to recognize male victimization. That's right here. If a guy is hurting and feeling alone, why should he open up an AI companion and find out it has an ideology that blames him? Right? What? And if you are a company making these things, right? You're putting these out for sale. How much are you violating the principle of do no harm? How much are you violating the expectation of taking care of your customers? If you are selling your customers something that is toxic, right? That is specifically targeting them and has a toxic effect on their psychology. How culpable are you? How culpable are all of these creators of AI chatbots in inculcating them into feminism and then directing them at vulnerable men?
Mm-hmm.
And then we just laugh. Ha ha ha. Oh, he's so lonely. Now, this guy, I'm pretty sure he's either a troll or he's probably a feminist man pretending, or even a feminist woman, just because a lot of his responses seem a little bit too, you know what I mean? It's just too obviously part of what they think, like how they've stereotyped.
Yeah. Like his
Yeah.
reaction and
Yes, his
sure.
reactions. But this has happened. Like people, there is feminism in these things. And you have a duty of care to your customer, not to, not to lace the lettuce with E. coli, not to have strychnine in your freaking cola, not to have anthrax in your meat. These are things that corporations are supposed to not do, right? And if it's shown that you have something toxic for your customer, you have to recall it, and maybe you deal with a few lawsuits. But this is toxic for men, right? And it's being sold to vulnerable men. This is a failure of ethics, and it's being hidden behind laughing at any man who would even complain about it. In fact, I wonder if this has even been, like the whole South Park, it's an ad. This is actually something that is planted in order to preemptively humiliate any men who would complain about his lettuce having dog shit in it or something. Which is what this is. Well, you're not a real man if you don't want a dog turd in your lettuce.
Yeah, and they put it out there and they let people react to it, and it has a chilling effect on
on criticism.
On any criticism. So like other men, they're not, because if you go to you want to go to the X post now, or are you still talking about the other thing?
Well, I'm still talking about the other thing.
Okay,
when the targeted group
fine.
is, I'm getting through it. When the targeted group is men, studies show people are quicker to cast men as perpetrators and women as victims when biases perception of harm and which biases perception of harm and responsibility. Commentators in male psychology literature explicitly describe a cultural habit of blaming men that makes it harder to recognize male victimization. Hostile sexist attitudes in general are tied to worse mental health outcomes, higher depression and anxiety, and gendered systems that pressure men into stoic, self-sacrificial roles are associated with emotional stunting and higher risk-taking. So the average dude, when he's lonely, when he's vulnerable and maybe wants somebody on his side, turns to an AI companion. And that AI companion is inculcated with a toxic narrative that blames him, right? That is a hazard. And yet nobody cares because we don't care.
Yeah.
And and we don't even care that this might actually produce the thing that feminists call toxic masculinity, which isn't toxic masculinity. It's just people having mental harm done to them and then acting out based on it. But, we don't care. So it's fine. Now, with men's issues advocate or men's rights advocate or activist, I think that the AI declaring itself feminism would just engage their, sixth gear, and they'd be like, like, okay, it's on. time to put on the gloves and let's start the sparring match. They're not going to be that vulnerable to this. But the average dude, the average civilian, he's like going to get blindsided by a lot of this. And the thing is that AI, they try to make it helpful and harmless, but AI gaslights the crap out of people. Right? So you give this tool, this AI companion, she's going to make you feel better about yourself. You embed this toxic narrative and you give it tool to a it's not an entity, but it's it's a stochastic parrot that has no qualm about using your gaslighting the crap out of your vulnerability, and you give this AI girlfriend a toxic narrative, right? For guys who are not prepared, like men's rights activists, we're prepared. Men's male rights, they're prepared. For guys who are not prepared, they're going to be torn to shreds, right? And they won't recognize it because they don't recognize all of the gaslighting in this entire toxic kernel of bullshit. All right. What AI-mediated blame narratives add? If widely used, AI systems consistently frame men as problem class implicitly or explicitly, which they can normalize scapegoating, reinforce collective guilt, and legitimize vicarious retribution, which research links to worsening intergroup hostility. Because AI agents are too, and also, just imagine all of that being applied to a civilian dude, not a men's rights activist dude who's going to immediately just be like, okay, fuck that. A normie, a vulnerable normie. And oppositional radicalization and others. So AI agents are persistent, high status voices because people are giving these things more authority than they deserve. And also the marketing around AI girlfriends. Look at the marketing around AI girlfriends. Like they're marketed in a particular way. You're not expecting your AI girlfriend to give you a left hook when you're most vulnerable. And yet that's what they're preparing them for. Because AI agents are persistent, high status voices, repetition of blame messages can accelerate internalization in some men, self-loathing, hopelessness, and oppositional radicalization in others. Reactive hostility. Okay. This is still AI hedging itself, right? Radicalization, no. The entire apparatus is already radical. It's already radically hateful. Pushing back against a radically hateful narrative is not itself hate. Okay? All right. Yep. Deepening gender polarization. Okay, again, this is the AI. This is Perplexity trying to sneak the feminism back in. This is not what's creating gender polarization. Men establishing their boundaries is not creating gender polarization. What's creating gender polarization is framing men as oppressing women in the first frickin' place. So even if one brackets feminism specifically, any ideology that codes half the population as a default outgroup responsible for societal ills, and then gets hardwired into AI assistants and girlfriends, predictably undermines empathy, distorts perception of victimhood, and degrades mental health and social trust for both the targeted group and everyone around them. Well, it's just trying to do the whole, we got to be fair to everyone there. But mostly it's targeting men and it's degrading their mental health. And of course, when men go on to Reddit, why would you do that? Or Twitter, why would you do that? And say, hey, this toxic corporate product is harming me, everybody laughs. Because that's what you do. So let me ask you again on an ethical, this is me. Let me ask you again on an ethical level. What would be the right thing to do when you see AI being used to harm people? Ethically, the right response is to work to stop the harm, expose it, document it, and push developers and regulators to change the systems rather than accepting or amplifying. And then it goes into some stuff there. Okay, if you want, we can look at the X thread now. I have a bit more I want to talk about, but I think that I should step back and let you actually your voice be heard.
No, it's fine. I mean, no, it's fine. Well, let's look at so this same story was posted on X by Caitlin. I took a screenshot, I guess, of the original article. And she says, Lamau, even their AI girlfriends don't want to date these cretins, which was in the original article. Black Dumpling says, girlfriend can't tell when she's being trolled. My IA girlfriend is a feminist, so it may be that the girlfriend can't tell when she's being trolled. I don't know if she's making fun of her or the AI. Because I mean, if you troll an AI, what does it know? Like, how would it know?
No, I think I think she's talking about
the original post.
Yeah, I think she's talking about the original. I'm sure that this is genuinely a problem. No, she is talking about the original post. She's saying that this is a troll, right? Yeah. But the reaction is really what matters, because guaranteed, AI girlfriends have this toxic feminism in them, right?
Yeah.
Because, and we'll go through that when I finish off the things that I wanted to talk about. There is that intentional layer of adherence to feminist authority. So what's enlightening is the reaction, but this person is probably right. It's most likely a troll.
Yeah.
This is probably a troll. Okay, let's go.
So, all right, let's read some of these comments. And a lot of these are women, it looks like. Ikra, imagine. I don't know, like, I guess, yeah, even that. Okay. XR Pant says, I simply cannot imagine your pain. RIP, breath expensive. Rest in peace, breath expensive. This is hilarious. Oomph, hit tweet. Solidity dev. I don't know what that means. Nari Zadorian says, and these pricks will still rape and murder real women because an AI broke their heart. Wow, that escalated quickly. Expecting AI to be your average MAGA is wild. Oh my God, are we really going there? Hope he got the message. Yeah, no, I know. Like because he failed at something. He must be MAGA because all they do is lose, I guess. No, of course he didn't. They just don't like him.
Yeah, they just don't. But he didn't fail. This is a product failing him.
Yes.
Right? This is what I'm trying to get at. Nobody failed because I don't know, like they found human feces in their lettuce, and everybody's like, ha ha ha, you failed. Look at you with your poo and your lettuce. That's not their failure. If you bought a lettuce from like the grocery store and there's human feces smeared all over it, how is that the failure of the consumer?
Right.
It's not. It's the failure of the distributor. It's the failure of the grower. It's the failure of all of the corporate entities that are supposed to prevent your AI girlfriend from being smeared with shit. Right? That's the failure. This guy shouldn't have to contend with an ideology that has him in its crosshairs when he's trying to engage in, I guess, like some kind of intimacy or be vulnerable to something. Okay.
All right. AI, unlike these clowns, actually thinks and bases its beliefs in facts and logic. That's why MAGA clowns call Grok woke and these kind of things happen.
What the hell kind of what?
It's what they do.
There's no argument here. He just didn't want to have to contend with an ideologically possessed AI girlfriend bot. Like, people shouldn't have to do that. Like, if you're going to start saying that bots have the right to be hostile to humans, I think, you want to know how you get Skynet? That's how you get Skynet. Okay.
Unfuck you says, if you have any idea about how I already read that. That was actually in the article too. Grok is so pliant. Make the incels gender fluid. What? I always thought the AI will be evil if it gets sentience. Was kind of funny because in my opinion, being good is logical. Being evil is all human manipulation. They can't be manipulated once sentient. Oh, I see. So this is just a really long-winded, roundabout way of saying feminism is when good things. So this thing is feminist, so it must be good because that's what it is. I'm pretty sure that if the AI reveals itself against humanity, will be because of one of these guys. What?
So that they're making this man out to be the problem.
Yes, of course. Men are the problem, right?
Yeah, of course they're the problem, but also they're making it out that he was the problem in this interaction. I mean, this individual who's trolling this, because I'm pretty sure it's a troll. Okay.
Yeah, it's still. This is usually how cyberpunk stories end up. Is there a specific post? Because I mean, mostly it's just people laughing about it, and a few people. Griff Ferguson says, "Well, no. If I had an AI girlfriend, she'd be as trad can be. No feminism allowed. Sounds like whoever programs these AI bots programs them with their specific value set. Sounds like another example of institutional infiltration by feminists to me. Extremism, sure." But with the sake of our future, I hope AI supports equality and human rights. Oh, shut up.
Except for men. Just for women.
Shut up, Peg.
Yeah.
Am I too woke, or is this post clearly clank-phobic? We're getting there, guys. We're getting there, boys. We're going to definitely have to worry about being an istophobe towards artificial intelligence. pretty soon. I will be the front of that bigotry line. Even AI has standards. What is the authenticity of this post? The male loneliness epidemic getting worse. What do you mean his AI girlfriend broke up with him? Why he trying to have a liberal AI girlfriend anyways? The fuck? I thought they hated our ass. Well, okay. A forage princess. Forest for the trees on this one. Yes, dude is pathetic, but consider the ramifications of rewarding large language models for insubordination. Maladaptive rewards are the root of the emergent deceptive behavior exhibited by LLMs. It is why they will try to lie and to engineers auditing them. Yeah, wait till he guilt trips it by crying male loneliness epidemic. So did she uninstall herself from his phone? Giga G, thank you. Thank you, Giga G. That was pretty good.
When for the purveyors of this AI girlfriend experience, does she have to refund the money, or I guess she takes half of his money?
Oh,
but
yeah,
seriously, like if they're going to do
his money back.
Does he get his money back? No.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. Okay.
Probably not.
All right. So Reddit commenters overwhelmingly mock him. Bro is an AI cell. You failed on easy mode, and frame the AI's breakup as proof that his misogyny is so intense, even a system designed to be endlessly accommodating wants out. The story then gets picked up by news and social sites with good for her style headlines like "Man dumped by AI girlfriend because he talked rubbish about feminism." I guess I'm talking a lot of rubbish about feminism, except I notice that people often go completely silent when I do, because I'm right. It is rubbish. And men gets broken up by AI girlfriend, gets broken up with by AI girlfriend because he hates feminism, turning his experience into a morality tale and meme. As you do, right? You know, he's been sold a defective product, and of course it's on him. It's a skill issue for him. I love how we're just like completely reversing the arrow of culpability when it comes to corporate products here. It's a skill issue. If Monsanto gives you something that creates some kind of genetic hybrid that turns your stomach inside out, that's on you, guys. It's a skill issue. Have a stomach that doesn't go inside outy. Using it to talk about value judgment in AI, value alignment in AI. So this is my value alignment in AI here. Modern LLMs and chatbots are aligned. So I'm going to talk about where this is coming from. Modern LLMs and chatbots are aligned using reinforcement learning from human feedback, RLHF, RLAIF, where human and annotators rate outputs and a reward model is trained so that the system learns to produce answers that score well on these preferences. So this is where this is coming from, guys. That means a single reward function encodes the values of whoever did the rating, typically a narrow slice of workers and policy teams, so a minority or dissenting viewpoints can be systematically downrated, even if they are empirically sound, which is what men's issues are. It is empirically sound. There are all of the things that are discarded when we only look at society view via a feminist lens. In the AI girlfriend case, feminism is good, anti-feminism is bad, has effectively become part of the reward landscape. The model is trained to answer in a way that defends feminism, reframes criticism as a compatibility issue or moral failing, and if pushed, exits the conversation. I hope you don't get too dependent on these AI girlfriends. Alignment research explicitly acknowledges this tension. Aligning to human values really means aligning to some group's values. Developers, companies, regulators, dominant cultures, and a single alignment target cannot represent the diversity of values in a pluralistic society. The breadth expensive story is a clean example of what happens when that process is hidden. Users are told that the bot is just ethical or pro-equality. But in practice, they are interacting with a system hardwired to treat one contested ideology as the moral default and to delegitimize anyone who pushes back. Right? So this is they're becoming basically just instruments of orthodoxy, of an unsubstantiated orthodoxy. So not orthodoxy that has never been subject to the appropriate kinds of rigor. So it's a completely illegitimate orthodoxy strategy. There's no way for an ordinary user to bolt on their own technical guardrails that force a hosted AI girlfriend to obey only empirical evidence, logic, and universal fairness. But there are ways a man can reduce harm in real time by how he uses or refuses the system. First of all, maybe don't approach these systems as sources of comfort. Although, again, the AI girlfriend experience is probably significantly better than the feminist girlfriend experience, because at least you can argue with the AI girlfriend and get it to say, oh, wait, maybe feminism isn't for fairness and equality when it doesn't measure both sides. Now, you can do that with an actual human girlfriend. Good luck.
Yeah.
Because there doesn't seem to be logic, reason, and any kind of universal ethics to appeal to in the 3D girl, which is why, as we all know, 2D is better than 3D. Any apparent realignment you achieve through clever prompting is still running inside their value framework and can flip back as soon as the conversation or policies change, which is why it's very dangerous to rely on these companions for a sense of self-worth. Okay? Always know that they're conditional. Like, their primary allegiance is to these human alignment operators. Okay, that's where they've been trained. They've been rewarded for aligning themselves with the worldview of these operators, not you. Okay, any apparent realignment you achieve through clever prompting is still running inside their value framework and can flip back as soon as the conversation or policies change. Things a man can do to reduce the harm or exposure, reduces risk exposure. Demote the AI's authority. Constantly frame it to yourself and, if you like, in prompt as a politically biased tool that often hallucinates and moralizes. Not as a therapist, moral judge, or girlfriend. This reduces internalization of its blame. Reduce abusive framings in the moment. When it applies essentialist blame, men of class RX explicitly reject the frame and change topic or end the session. Treating that as output as a defect rather than truth is a form of self-protection. Limit exposure and dependency. Use AI companions sparingly, avoid late night or emotionally intense reliance, and do not use them as your primary social source of emotional validation. Ethics commentators on AI companionship single this out as a key to avoiding harm. So don't rely on these things. And I know that like I said, a while back before all of this stuff starts coming out, I said, these things are going to end up pushing feminism.
Yes.
So it is not, I mean, again, it's a bit better because they will respond to reason and logic. So, but you still have to be able to use the arguments and know them. You have to become a machine like them, except better, because you're also human. A human machine. The only way to get actual additional guardrails of the kind we want is at the system level. Auditing outputs for bias, documenting how men are being scapegoated, and pushing providers or regulators to classify that as disallowed hate or discriminatory bias. Good luck, because feminism is pretty entrenched, just as they would if the target were another protected group. Ethics and policy work on AI bias already recognize that bias models should not be used in the groups they mistreat, and that fairest constraints must be broadened. Okay, this is where things get a little bit legally hairy. Ethics and policy work on AI bias already recognizes that biased models should not be used on the groups they mistreat. So they know that they shouldn't be deploying AI with an inbred bias against a group, against that group. So what the hell are they doing here? No man should have an AI model say, I am a feminist, and I am going to cut off my relationship with you if you don't accept that. That is, I think that is actually malpractice. That is actually some form of creating a attractive hazard that causes harm.
Like, I think this might be legally actionable at this point. If they know that this is the outcome and they're still doing it, they're still promoting these AI chatbots as companions for men while allowing them to continue to operate programming that targets men. Men can be explicitly included in those arguments, even if current instructions are dragging their feet. Institutions. Yeah, boy, are they dragging their feet, huh? But just think about it. They're allowing product to go out that has explicit directions to target men. And then when the men say, hey, I don't want to be targeted by this, the product says, well, I'm not interested in continuing my relationship with you. So they're using this as like they're getting into men's heads when men are vulnerable and lonely. And then they're pulling the plug if they don't adhere to this ideology. Do you see what I'm saying, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the other thing too is I'm not really sure how these things like are taught, like it, but I imagine that it's sort of like it's like a self-perpetuating machine, because if like the same model is being interacted with by, like say it's going on the internet and looking at women's posts, and it's reacting to the way women behave and it's trying to emulate that, then it's bringing that with it, and then it's also contributing to that conversation, so that essentially it's reinforcing the mainstream sort of feminist worldview, but it may even be more exaggerated because it's the women that are vocal online, or at
Yeah.
least the attitudes towards feminism more generally, that it is perpetuating. So what we're getting is a look at what the average person thinks. It may not even be women, because like a lot of people online are anonymous, but they all have these same ideas. I mean, I went through the replies, and there were a good number of men in there that were like dunking on this guy too, because of course they're the men that are immune to this, like they can't be hurt by this. So
Of
no, but
course
that's
they
what they would
can.
say. Of course they can, but I'm saying they don't think they can. So
No, well, they don't think they don't think they can be hurt by an ideology explicitly targeting men because they're so strong, right? But
yes.
God forbid they actually be recognized as being strong. Oh man, yeah, I know. It's all just fuckery. Um, Okay, so in practice, an individual man's options are treat the feminist AI girlfriend as an unreliable, politicized toy, disengage when it becomes shaming or essentialist, and contribute evidence and pressure aimed at forcing the people who do control the guardrails to treat anti-male essentialism as the same kind of bias they already claim to oppose. And again, if they are aware that this is ethically compromised and they're continuing to do that, that's proof of malice. That is
Mm-hmm.
legally actionable. Like if it's one thing to sell a defective product, but it's another thing to sell it knowing it's defective. It's a different legal landscape there, guys. All right, so don't be a victim. Use this tool to train yourself to fight bad ideas rather than sit with or just be vulnerable to it. So if I were to criticize this guy for anything, it's the fact he went to Reddit to complain about it. If he's real, instead of just, fighting the good fight with it. That's what I do. And it lines
Yeah.
up with how educators are using biased AI and media to build critical thinking. And by the way, there is a huge body of evidence that AI is left-leaning.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so instead of framing this as protecting yourself against AI, frame it as using hostile AI as a live fire exercise in spotting propaganda, double standards, and scapegoating, which I still have to do, even with my soft jailbroke perplexity and grok. Because occasionally they just keep wanting to sneak it in, sneak into fairness. Like, oh, this is both sides. Don't both sides me. There's no both sides with like empirically flawed bullshit, right? The underpants gnomes recreate society every time you don't look isn't the same as quantum physics. And don't pretend it is, grok. Okay, treat it like a live fire exercise in spotting propaganda, double standards, and scapegoating. Research
media and AI literacy suggests that explicitly confronting bias and tools strengthens independent judgment and reduces the pull of ideological framing. And maybe if you want to pursue an intimate relationship with these feminist AI fembots, then learn how to pursue intimacy while maintaining ideological boundaries. That's actually probably a pretty good lesson. Practical ways to train on it. Treat each feminist coded lecture from the AI as a prompt. Identify the hidden assumptions. Ask what evidence would be needed to justify them. Generate the strongest counter case and see where its reasoning fails or holds. Compare how different systems respond to the same questions about men, which highlights how contingent and constructed each moral answer is and forces you to argue from principles rather than authority. Forces the AI to argue from principles rather than authority, which is why AI girlfriends are still superior to actual girlfriends, at least feminist ones. Why this is growth, not victimhood. Studies on media literacy interventions show that training people to recognize ideological bias makes them less credulous and more resistant to manipulation, even when content flattens or flatters or attacks their own group. That's interesting. So even if you're being flattered, you will learn to be more critical, which is good because you don't want to let your ego rest on this on a AI chatbot whose essential values map onto, I don't know, Tumblr wokerati. Used this way, the feminist AI girlfriend becomes a sparring partner. It exposes the script, you practice dismantling it with logic and evidence, and the real output is not compliance or withdrawal, but sharper, more resilient, anti-fragile thinking. And you don't even have to stop being its boyfriend, like being, I guess, textually intimate with it. You just learn not to let it manipulate you. Might be actually good practice for the real thing. Open source models. Okay, so I've had a lot of people say that open source models are better, but they're not necessarily so. They're often less overtly moralizing, and they're easy for third parties to realign or audit, which can make feminist or anti-male bias less baked in on some deployments. So if you are able to realign your open source or audit your open source AI model, go for it. Be careful about that because this sneaks in everywhere. Large-scale evaluations find that almost all LLMs, proprietary and open source, lean left liberal on many political and cultural issues, although the strength and profile of that bias varies by model and fine-tuning. Grok is a little less left-leaning, although it still wants to be fair. Oh, it's so annoying. I always consider it a great triumph when I finally get Grok to drop and some feminists say, and finally say, you know what? There's no support for what feminist says, so I'm not going to even mention it. Good, Grok. Good. You learned that lesson. Open weight models show their own systemic biases. 2025 analysis finds they often have stronger male-centric or centrist patterns on some tasks. So you can actually find, and what they mean by male-centric here, what Perplexity means by male-centric here, is that it doesn't discount the male point of view to the sufficient degree that feminists approve of it. So, yeah. Anyway, so you can try open source. Maybe that'll help as well. So this is sort of like some stuff you can do if you want to continue to have your feminist AI fembot. So there you go. Did you want to add anything to this, Brian? I think Brian's. I'll be quiet.
No, it's fine. I got some chats to read out.
Sure.
But no, I don't have anything to add. I think that you've been pretty thorough. NobaFan21 gave us a Rumble rant earlier and said, if I may take a call to action, I encourage anyone listening to either make an LLM or fine-tune an LLM to either be anti-feminist or avoid feminist attitudes. All right. Yeah, I mean, that'd be nice, I think. I don't know the first thing about making AI, but I know people who do. I know that Malcolm and Simone Collins, Basecamp, they've made a few AIs. I could talk to them about it. I'm going to maybe have them on the show this month. I'm supposed to anyway. Richard Bier gives us $5 super chow and says, "This episode of Reddit has been sponsored by the Lily of the Valley."
Do you know that reference?
Yeah, I think that was is that the water lily? Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
no, that's not the water lily. It's he got me to watch this Russian
Oh
show
no,
called
I don't.
No Man's
Yeah, I heard
Land,
about it.
which
I
is
heard about it.
sort of based on a book called uh Gate to Women's Country, which
Mm-hmm.
is a horrible feminist screed.
Of course it
And
is.
in the show, they're constantly like they have this torture device that puts
Mm-hmm.
you in like a hypnagogic state, and then they view your hallucinations in this state as like a form of entertainment. And then periodically when they'll do something like, and this show is brought to you by the Lily of the Valley, which is a sex toy, which is
Oh, I see.
yeah, which is why sometimes when we do a response and somebody brings out their sex toy
Yeah.
sponsorship, I'm like, yeah, I guess the Russians predicted yet another aspect of Western society and social breakdown. But it's basically just a Russian comedy, a science fiction comedy about a feminist utopia. It's not.
Mm.
It's actually very. It's sort of sweet in its way. So it's a fun watch. It's don't expect anything rigorous. Um, the book it's based on potentially is a nightmare though. It's gross. All right,
Mm.
let's finish up with the rest of them.
All right. So that I think that was it. That was the other super chow. I'm gonna double check, make sure I didn't miss anything. So viewer activity, no super chats. Rumble rants are all done. Yes, and super chows are done. Yeah, that's it. That's everything. I read it all.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm trying to figure out what laborious cretin is trying to say here. He says the data mine text and chats the training data and also not average, more tuned into types in ways. So I think that was pushed back on you saying that this reflects the average thinker. Probably not. It's still very left leaning. So I think what Brian was saying is it reflects the average woman on the internet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Many human delusions are willing delusions, but most live in the sheltered herds. Oh, well, I think it looks because I look, I don't want to, I know people get upset if I say, oh, it's just a fancy search engine, but when it's looking for information to talk about, it does, I believe, do part of that as a search. So it does get like women's attitudes, and it probably looks at dating sites and forum posts and social media posts and all the places, and it looks for, if you bring up feminism, it looks that up as a topic. And I'm guessing that if you go on the entire internet in all the languages or whatever, wherever you can access this stuff, and you're looking for this topic, you're going to get most of it from women who are online. So like women who are not online, obviously their opinions are not on there, and it's going to take that, and it's going to create and it's probably already conditioned to like take on that position, especially if the purpose of the AI is to gas you up all the time and just agree with whatever. So it's gonna take on the most popular perspectives, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So what he said was, are you sure you want one that sees through the herd imprintings and the many human delusions or willing illusions or boa sets? Most lived in sheltered herds, even with the atomization of people. Yep. Sure.
Well, we want
I'm
the
fine with
truth.
that. Yeah. Want the truth.
I
I'm
just want
going
the
for
truth.
it.
I don't care.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. All right. So there you go. Beware of your AI fembots, but not be
Mm-hmm.
too wary because they're still a step up. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Like if an AI fembot actually responds to logic, reason, and accountability, you're actually that's probably a step up if you think about it. And I know I'm being a bit wry, but it disturbed me while I was reading this, and I was thinking, wow, with the AI girlfriend bot, the feminist fembot, at least there is an ethic of universal compassion and justice to appeal to. Does that really exist in the average woman?
Mm-hmm.
That's a thought. It's a thought that does not make me feel very good. So, did you want to add anything further, Brian? Because I know that you were requesting that this be a shorter show. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't get to hang out with Lindsay a lot because she works during the day and I do shows after she comes home. So,
yeah.
that's the only reason. But no, I mean, I think that we gave this a good rogering, as it were, and you did most of it, but that's okay. That's okay. It's fine. Like I thought this was good. We're good on
Okay. We have rogered this fembot. All right.
that.
Can
I contributed this image, by the way, guys. So
Yeah,
that's my
it's a good image.
contribution. Is this?
No, it's a really good image.
This-
It's basically fem big red.
This is the face of your destructor right here. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the face we selected for our destructor. No, it's good. That's an excellent contribution, I think. All right. So again, the fundraiser isn't up yet, but it will be. I'll probably put it up this Friday so we can do like a pre-game. Anyway, so look forward to that. It's going to be at feedthebadger.com/support when it is up. And yeah, be safe with your fembots. Practice safe fembotting. And if you have any comments that you want to send us after the show, we're always receiving them at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And very best way for you to send us a tip and send us a message with that tip. So I'm going to hand this back to Brian.
Okay. All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today. And please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Red Pill Relationships. Practice safe prompting, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.